to another edition of the Capital School District's Blue and White Table Talk. Today's discussion is entitled Evolving into the Heartbeat. The Capital School District is the heartbeat of the First State, and we set the rhythm for others to follow. Today's guests are Jordan Davis, a sophomore at Dover High School. Jordan, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me, Dr. Cade.
Absolutely. And of course, our partner and a great supporter, Mr. Charles Madden of Delaware's Prosperity Partnership. How are you, Charles?
I'm well, Dr. Cade. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And what would a conversation about education be without a parent at the table? And so we have Miss Cassandra Davis, Jordan's mom, with us. Miss Davis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as well, Dr. Cade.
Absolutely. We had a great conversation in our first segment about 21st century skills in strong schools. We want to continue that and talk about innovation and creativity. And so, what has your experience been as a student in the Capital School District, Jordan, and how is it reflecting of evolving into the heartbeat of the First State?
Well, I first started at North Dover Elementary School. When I was younger, like in elementary school, I really didn't value it as much. But as I went through, the middle schools and and now I'm at Dover High, it really speaks a lot. I'm proud to say that I'm a senator at Capital School District, and I'm just enjoying my time here now because I have these opportunities and the freedom to express myself.
Yeah, you've been involved in our strategic planning process, you and a few other students, and I want to commend you for coming out to lend your voice to that work. You've also been very actively involved in the band. You are a huge student advocate. You're part of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, in addition to getting accepted into the National League of Innovative Students. What are you expecting to gain from those experiences, and what have those experiences been for you as we continue to evolve into the heartbeat?
Well, in terms of being accepted in the League of Innovative Students, I hope to get something out of that that'll help benefit the Capital School District community as a whole. And my whole purpose the reason I would like to be there is to learn something that could help us on a smaller scale. Even though it's a nationwide program, there's still benefits that I can learn from being there. And in terms of being in the Capital School District, in terms of your Superintendent Advisory Council, the strategic planning meetings, and the band, it just gives me those different experiences of what teachers, administrators, and what students think as a whole. And yes.
Thank you. Education is about your experience, and oftentimes we as adults, we forget to engage the very people that we're developing these programs for. And so, Mom, we talk about being the heartbeat, and we can look at that from different perspectives. We can think about that as being a caring organization. We can think about that as an organization that sort of sets the precedence for others. What does that mean to you, and what are the kinds of experiences you're looking for your children?
So definitely with Capital being the heartbeat, it sets the standards for others to follow. With Jordan being involved in so many different activities, what I see is that he's able to navigate the systems of Capital School District well. He and his friends also, I feel like they have a safe place within the school and within the district because they're familiar with the various resources. Absolutely. As far as he's been provided opportunities, as well as my youngest child as well, because I have two.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about your daughter at South Dover.
Yes, opportunities for growth. There's, I feel like there is a support system in both of the schools for the children. In the elementary schools, they have social workers, guidance counselors, the family crisis therapists, and then you have your teachers. And so I feel as though there is a growth of social emotional learning. And with all of those different avenues and with all the different avenues for the students to be able to reach out to, I feel as though the teachers as well, are learning
Absolutely.
more, because there's a new generation of teachers that I've noticed are coming into the districts as well, and so they're learning as well to navigate a system, and it's a sense of community within the district.
Absolutely. So K-12 institutions and schools, we're big organizations, and there are many different kinds of systems that people have to understand how to navigate. And so I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to turn here to talk a little bit with my friend Charles, because Delaware Prosperity Partnerships. First, I want to give you the opportunity to tell our audience and all of those who are watching, what is your organization about?
Sure. Again, thanks for having me, Dr. Cade.
Absolutely.
So Delaware Prosperity Partnership was created by Governor John Carney. It was the result of conversations with the Business Roundtable, and the idea here was to create a public-private that could market Delaware to the world. So to bring opportunities in the form of companies to Delaware that would in turn create jobs and investments in Delaware. And so in the 5 years that we've been here, we've had a great deal of success, and a lot of that is through partnerships. And so I'm glad to be here to talk about the partnership today.
Absolutely. Listen, the bottom line and where the rubber meets the road, companies that want to find a home in the great first state, they're looking for great schools for their kids, right? And so let's talk a little bit and share with our audience about some of the things that we've been doing to really build those partnerships, particularly in Central Delaware. So could you share with them some of the things that we've been doing to really make ourselves stand out as the heartbeat, right? And so what have those kind of interactions been with you and your company?
Well, it's interesting because Dr. Cade has been at the forefront of things that we've done, or partnerships we've developed in.
I didn't pay him for this, y'all.
in Central Delaware. And there are a number of other partners who have been a part of these conversations, but more specifically with the Capital School District and some of the earlier meetings we've had was around manufacturing. So I personally came to Delaware almost 30 years ago and didn't realize how much of a manufacturing DNA existed in Dover in particular. And so we assembled a group of really community leaders who would talk to us about how we can make manufacturing a little more sexy, if you will, or a little more appealing to students. Because
Absolutely.
you know, I grew up in a place that was very blue collar, and manufacturing was essentially what we did. I grew up in Detroit. And so manufacturing today is very different
Absolutely.
than manufacturing of old. And so in fact, we were working with a company, Delmarva Corrugated, who is a huge investment in Dover, and it's a manufacturing facility that if you go in, you would not think it's a manufacturing facility by the way it looks and the technology that exists there. So we were trying to highlight, you know, what manufacturing looks like today. I think many people would probably be afraid of what manufacturing looked like before. Yeah. And so just highlighting what it looks like today and the opportunities that exist within manufacturing.
You know, I was saying to my staff, you know, we have P&G right across the street from the district office, and I finally got an opportunity to get in there, and I said to people, there are robots in there, right? And so logistical pieces and how manufacturing looks is absolutely different. So I think about how you are in the forefront of connecting the dots, whether it's with the Greater Kent Committee or industry leaders like Linda Parsky and Shelley Checkett, different people, our Secretary for the Department of Labor, Code Differently, Stephanie, you're in the forefront of connecting the school district to those resources so that not only do we get programs for our students, but we've been able to really start to set the groundwork for opportunities for our parents. And so, you know, I think that that's exciting, you know. So, you know, you wouldn't think that a company that does what your company does would be that heavily involved in schools, but we understand that it is important because every kid is not going to go to college.
Yeah, and, you know, it's interesting because I came up in a generation where you were sort of told to go to college, and that was the only avenue most you had to get, you know, to be successful. And I'm fortunate to be able to go around the state and really around the country talking to people about what it takes and what companies are looking for. And certainly, you know, you have to have a skill set, but it's not always a skill set that you would find at a four-year institution. So part of this is to be able to get access to training programs that prepare you for a skill that you can build on, and they call it like stackables, so you can have one skill and then you stack on the other skill. And then there are opportunities for people to earn a good living doing so, right, and not get in a great deal of debt. So I'm not suggesting that people shouldn't go to college, but college, as we know, is not for everybody.
Yeah,
and there are opportunities outside of that.
Absolutely. We have to have options for kids and people. So as we begin to think about wrapping this up, I'm going to do sort of like a pop-up where I'm going to ask each of you to tell me what do you want to see, one thing you want to see as we evolve as the heartbeat of the first state. And I'm going to ask you from a mom's perspective, what would you like to see as the Capital School District continues to evolve as the heartbeat of the first state?
From a mom's perspective, because my children are in the schools during the day longer than what they're probably at home having conversation with me, I'd like them to have a safe place when they're away from me. A place where they can actually, if they have an issue, where they can actually speak to an individual and feel comfortable doing that. Also, I'd like to see them be able to, like I said, or I think I said earlier, navigate whatever systems they need to in the school and outside of the school. When I let this young man and the young lady go, I want them to be prepared to be able to
soar, be independent.
That's
be
the word,
successful.
to be successful.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to shift over to you so I can give Jordan the last say as the student. What do you see from your perspective in terms of business, school, partnerships? What does that mean? What does it look like in terms of evolving into the heartbeat?
Yes, I think it's being open to new and different ways of operating, and not necessarily holding on to traditional mindsets around how we prepare students for opportunities. And I think the bigger thing that we see more so than sort of what I call the technical skills that are necessary, it's really how people function in a workplace, right? And so I think where we have opportunities for our students is to start to expose them into the workplace, and also how they can sort of navigate workplace issues and conflict resolution, and just how to be great entrepreneurs within a facility.
Absolutely.
Like teachable moments.
Absolutely. So the last question is for you, Jordan. From your experience as a high school student, what are the pressing issues that school districts are facing post-COVID?
Oh, that could be a pretty lengthy list, I would say. But right now, the ones that I see are keeping students engaged in their classes. So frequently I see kids, roaming the hallways, or they'll sleep in class because they don't feel as engaged. Before COVID, I was in 7th grade. It wasn't, kids were still, involved, focused in class. But since then, it just feels like, I don't really care anymore. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and that's that. No one can tell me otherwise. So I would say right now, it's keeping students engaged in the classroom and trying to help them find other opportunities in the future in the real world.
I want to thank you, Jordan, for coming today and having this very important conversation with us. And Mom, your support of your son and the district is just invaluable. And certainly, Charles, we've got so much to do in terms of really forging those relationships with the business community so we can create those pipelines for our students and for parents. And so I just want to thank you guys for coming and having this discussion with me. We'll be right back for the part 2 of Blue and White Table Talk.
DETV has been Delaware's premium provider of creative digital and broadcasting solutions that bridges communities and connects people. We create great stories for all audiences. We deliver independent news throughout Delaware. We are digital platform innovators. And we develop marketing and sales solutions so you can stay connected to your audience. Now, why do we do what we do here on DETV? We do it because we care. So, keep watching and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, DETV, online, on air, on time.
Welcome back. We are continuing our conversation about evolving into the heartbeat of the first state. We're joined by Julie Eby, teacher at Booker T. Washington Elementary School. How are you today, Mrs. Eby?
I am very well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And of course, our very own President of the Board of Education, Dr. Jackson.
Hi, Dr. Cade.
Hi. And our new principal of Central Middle School, Mr. Joseph Evans. Hey, Mr. Evans.
Hello, Dr. Cade. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's get this conversation restarted. And I'm going to turn to you, Mrs. Eby, first. And I'm going to say, from a teacher's perspective, what can teachers do in their classroom to really reflect the statement, we are the heartbeat of the first state. We set the rhythm for everyone else to follow?
Well, by virtue of where we're located, we can claim the heartbeat, right?
Yes.
But by what we're doing in the classroom, we are providing that energy. We are the pulse.
Yes.
We want to make sure that students are energetic about what they're learning, that we're providing them with opportunities to explore different careers, their interests, and that takes not just the physical classroom to be prepared, but preparing our teachers in a way that they can provide those experiences for our children.
Absolutely.
So it's essential.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about your classroom, Mrs. Eby, because I do a lot of walkthroughs and visit a lot of schools, and I was really struck when I entered your classroom because the way your classroom is set up, it's not a traditional like desks and rows, and you know, talk a little bit about your classroom setup and the different areas that you've constructed for your students to learn.
Sure. Well, this is my happy place. I love setting up learning environments for my kids, and I like to make it a little bit different each year because same old is boring. But what I like to do is set up areas where the children can explore. We have an expansive STEAM center that the children, that is their area where they are able to explore what they are interested in. They work on their communication skills because they're working with one another. They, like I said, they're problem solvers. They're working on their leadership skills. Also, I like to provide areas where they can have a quiet space to read. We have our lanai on Leadership Lake.
Oh, I like it.
Have to play with some alliteration there. And we are a Leader in Me school over at Booker T. And so the lanai on Leadership Lake, as pulling that all in there.
Yes.
Like you said, I don't have rows in my classroom. The classroom is designed to encourage the children to work together.
Yeah. When I visit your classroom, it sort of puts me in the mindset of Montessori, and it doesn't really, I don't see kids really in boxes, right? And children and what you described are really constructing learning at their own pace based on their own intellectual curiosity.
Absolutely.
And that's what I see the most. And then you have hands-on things. You have opportunities for kids that are like vocal, like speakers. You have opportunities for kids that are hands-on. And I think that's the thing that really stands out. And tell them about the area that your husband built in the classroom.
Which one?
Exactly.
Well, he knew how important it was. One year I was really trying to get the kids comfortable with public speaking. So he built them a lectern. And so that got the kids a-talking. They're like, well, if he can build this, what else could he build for us? He actually created a huge component of our STEAM center. It's on wheels. It's pegboards all around the side. So they sort of come up with the idea of what they want that to be used for each year. He also built us a stage around our new smart board, and the kids have been doing read-alouds and readers' theater.
Readers' theater for the stage, right?
You got it. So poor Brad, my husband, he already has a list that he's not really aware of yet. But
Brad, get to your list.
That's right, but he's the best teacher husband ever. But I think what's essential with my classroom is that students are in charge of their learning. They need to set goals, not because I want them to, but they set long-term goals, they set the short-term goal, and we discuss the steps, what they need to do to get to where they want to be. Some of them have already decided, I'm going to be an astronaut. Some of them have already decided that
astronaut,
they're very specific.
Absolutely.
But I feel as though my role is not as the typical teacher in the classroom. I like to call myself an educational concierge.
Oh, I like it.
I like to provide them with what they need to keep growing. I always say, you know, I love you to my kids, but what that involves is I will do anything for you, whether you're right here in my room or outside of the room, but I'm going to help you get to where you would like to be in life.
Absolutely.
So
I feel like my heart fluttering, you know, as you're speaking, and you know, and as I think about the heartbeat and the pulse, the care, the ethos of care that you express, but more importantly, the precedents that your classroom establishes. And you know, Miss Evie was Teacher of the Year for 2020-22, and she teaches our gifted children, but it's my belief that what happens in Miss Evie's classroom should happen in every classroom, in every school in Capital School District. And so
I completely agree with you. And just so you know, my students feel the same way.
Absolutely.
They do. They
and
have
they
actually
expressed
said
it.
that.
Yeah, very vocal, her kids. So I think I'm going to shift over to you, Dr. Jackson, because you know you've been involved in a lot of work around community organizing, issues around social justice and leadership to bring about the narrowing of the divide, right, inequities. And in your role as board president of the Capital School District, you know, what is your role in supporting administrators and students and staff and parents in our efforts to evolve as the heartbeat of the first state?
Yeah, Dr. Cade, I think that we're in a critical time right now. And, you know, coming off, you know, the ends of the pandemic right now, we have additional challenges. But I also think the pandemic brought some opportunities, right? And so it increased our ability to be able to teach our kids virtually. So the technology component has increased. I think as a board member and, you know, president of the board, I think it's important that the board continues to seek training and professional development opportunities. You know, recently we attended a school board training. We have some more training coming up. A few of us are also going to be a part of a school board partners fellowship program.
Wow.
And so that really gives us an opportunity to meet with other leaders across the country and identify what they're doing in their districts to improve student outcomes. And so I think from the board standpoint, it's important that we continue to learn and grow as well. We set that example, right?
Absolutely.
And so the more we grow in our leadership, the better our policies can be, the more we can support our staff throughout, you know, these challenges. You know, it's a challenging time. And so I think when you think about the heartbeat of, you know, of our state, and we call ourselves the heartbeat, I think what's important is to ensure that we have a healthy heart, right?
Ooh, oh,
and so
goodness.
when you think about the heart, you know, there are so many components. And what I really love about our core values of unity through love and inclusiveness and, you know, all of those things, that all comes from the heart.
Absolutely.
And so when you think about it, we're setting the pulse. And so for a good heart, we need to use it and exercise it.
Wow.
So sometimes we need to go fast. Then there are other times we need to just, you know, coast along. And sometimes we need to slow down. And so I think at the board level, what we are really responsible for doing is setting that policy, setting the leadership, and setting the pulse of the district in a way that, you know, our students are healthy and that we are producing healthy students that can excel in the world and be competitive in whatever it is that they decide to do.
Listen, this is why I respect this woman so much. You know, she's so insightful in understanding that, you know, if you want to be the heartbeat, it starts at the top, right? And, you know, our board is really establishing a precedence by having 3 board members be involved in the School Board Partnerships Fellows Program. So I'm going to shift a little over here to you, Mr. Evans, as, you know, as a leader and as an anticipated leader of our brand new, interconnected, $113 million middle school campus. You know, what do you believe it entails, and what does evolving as the heartbeat of the first state look like to you?
So when you think about heartbeat, first of all, that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because the heartbeat that you display as a leader, as well as you too, Dr. Jackson, you as well, Mrs. Eby. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here. So when I think about heartbeat for our new interconnected school, I always think about our parents first. We think about safety, because for me, there is not a heartbeat unless your school is safe. So we want to make sure we ensure. We had a parent, Mrs. Davis, on not too long ago, talking about one of our first priorities is to make sure our schools are safe. Absolutely. So that's one of the things I want to ensure with our new $113 million facility. Hopefully we'll have, you know, top-notch cameras where we can make sure we keep our kids safe, make sure we also communicate to our parents, you know, through our newsletters, through our parent news. And I'm also excited, you announced just the other day about the parent liaison, having that at the center for our school, where parents are able to come in to participate in the teaching and learning and so forth. So that's parents, and also, again, number one, safety. The other thing I want to talk about is our staff members. I'll tell you what, one of the exciting things I heard today is one of my assistant principals sent me a text, and I believe you may have received the text too. He said, Joe, Principal Joe, 100% teachers came to school today. They showed up.
Oh, that is huge.
But see, that's exciting, and it's also on a Friday too.
On a Friday,
But that's not the first time it happened. It happened maybe 10 or more times. So our teachers are excited about coming to work. So our job is to make sure we provide all the resources that our teachers need, so they can give those resources to our students. And also we can make sure that help our teachers to be the facilitators of instruction versus the directors of instruction.
Sounds like Miss Eby's classroom, right?
Concierge.
The concierge, right?
Absolutely. Which brings me to students. Yes. We want to make sure our students are highly engaged in the learning process in a meaningful and purposeful way, especially having our new math and ELA curriculum, where the curriculum is embedded where students are able to collaborate. Of course, our students need to know how to collaborate in this 21st century, just keeping our students engaged and excited about learning, just like Mrs. Davis have mentioned and Mrs. Eby. So very, very excited about the interconnected school. And like I said, we have a theme at Central Middle School, you know, in terms, one of my first priorities, of course, is culture. Absolutely, building those relationships. You know, for the first few months, that's all we did is build relationships. On the way here, guess who I was talking to? I was talking to parents. Absolutely, just trying to, you know, resolve issues, trying to make sure they have a voice. And when I leave here today, guess what? I'm going to call parents. So just really setting that culture, making sure that our interconnected school is will be the best ever for the 21st century, and also, most importantly, to continue that heartbeat.
Absolutely. So, you know, you guys have a theme over at Central Middle School, and coming in as a new principal in a huge transition year, because in 2023, the Capital School District will transition our entire district when we open up those new interconnected middle schools. We'll shift from having schools that have pre-K students to 4th grade, and then students from 5th to 6th grade, then students from 7th to 8th grade, to an interconnected middle school campus with students from 6th to 8th grade, early learning centers with pre-K and K, and then elementary schools that have grades 1 to 5. That's huge. Transition creates anxiety for people. So when we're going through this transition in leadership, you're not even a year at Central Middle School, how do you, and what are some of the things you're doing to really establish that culture, right, at the school?
So when you think about culture, you also want to think about what type of culminating activities our students need. Let's think about like STEM or STEAM. So right now one of the things we're trying to do is create that master schedule that fits our whole child. So we want to make sure we embed STEAM projects. We want to make sure we partner with community partners, that is, bring in businesses to help create internships for students.
So there's one thing that you guys are doing that's pretty unique. You have a theme this year. What's that theme? And then we're going to wrap up this conversation.
So that theme is called We Fight, We Win, and We Never Give Up. And that means that no matter what we go through, we're fighting for better test scores. We're fighting for better communication. We're fighting for better resources. We're fighting to have better relationships. So believe it or not, I sing to my students every single day. And I sing it in the form of We Fight, We Win. And I pick certain themes and sing to them every morning. I won't do it on camera today because I'm not sure if I'm warmed up enough. Okay. But that's what we do.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Please join us as we continue these impactful conversations. Please go to our website for more information. Visit us on our social media platforms. I want to thank our guests for just coming in today and giving us some great insight.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And so at this point, I'm going to say, go Senators. Bye, everybody. Bye.